to all of you wonderful. Hello, everyone in Facebook land and everyone that's viewing today or in the future. My name is Johnnie Womack. That's my nickname because the name I was given at birth was like a combination of my mom and dad's name. So I just go by Johnnie. It's a lot easier. So I want to tell you first of all, and tell everyone how wonderful it is to be included in this glorious gathering of goddesses. And yes, you are all goddesses, even if you don't believe that you are. And hopefully by the time this talk is through, you'll start believing it. So the first thing I'm going to start out with is that when I was a child, and I was probably like 5, 6, a small child, I was in the back seat of my parents' car. My brother and sister were asleep on the sides of the seat beside me, and it was dark. And this was in Oklahoma, and I was born in 1946, so I turned 76 today. I mean, not today. On November 24th, it just happens to fall on Thanksgiving every 4 years. So I was in the car. I'm sorry if I gotta get having technical difficulties today. So I was sitting in the back seat of my parents' car and looking up at the night sky, sobbing my heart out, saying, I want to go home. Why did you leave me here? I don't want to be here. I want to go home. And it's something that I've always remembered as little vignettes of my life. There's a lot of those little vignettes. And so going on further, I've got some bullet points here so I don't leave anything out. As I got a little older, maybe in my teen years, there was a lady named Peggy Lee that was a wonderful singer, and she had this song called Is That All There Is? And the song goes something like, is that all there is? If that's all there is, then let's keep dancing, break out the booze and have a ball. And I was like really thinking, yeah, there has to be more than this. And so then we go on a few, like many years later, because I'm not going to bore you with my gradual things, because most of you know, well, some of you know about it, but I'm going to tell you about when I was in my 30s and I had moved to the Seattle area from Idaho. And I had this, what I call the Garden of Eden in fluorescent colors. It was a 2-week awakening that included God and everything, everywhere, every song that you hear, every movie, every picture, every incident, is God talking to us. And it was really intense. I would be in the shower and jump out of the shower and write complete poems. And I had written poetry in college, but I didn't, I wasn't into writing poetry at that time. So I'd never written a poem all in one piece anyway. At the time, I didn't know I was channeling spirit, higher source, but I just, after the 2 weeks of all this, I felt what it was like to, what God meant for it to be like on earth. And it was wonderful, but at the same time, it was frightening. So I prayed for God to take it away because it was too much for my mind to handle at the time. I did continue writing poetry. The first poem that I wrote, and I'm going to read this one now. I'll read some of the ones that are pertinent as we go along. But the very first poem that I wrote was I had this all scrolled in. Okay. And this is, when I read this, you'll understand what I hope you get a little glimpse into what I was experiencing. This poem is titled, Who Am I? I am the mender of torn hearts, the healer of broken souls. I can break through any kind of gate, tend the hurt, fix the hate. I go through any barrier of men, walk over prejudices, and wade through sin. No man forbids me audience or ear. They see me once, then hold me dear. There is no country I can't go in. Once I've visited, they beg, come back again. Some hold the theory I'm from above, and all mankind call my name love. So, as some of you know, I have a page called Love is the Answer to All Questions. And I post all of the poems that I've received through Spirit on that page. And I later started another page called Cosma the Cosmic Detective. And in it, I post heaven's messages. It started out as angel messages, but it evolved into heaven's messages because I would get messages from Asu Jesus Sananda, Creator Father God, and angels included, and archangels. So why am I called Cosma the Cosmic Detective? When I was in my it was probably around the early 90s or late 80s. I was in bed, woken up, sat straight up in bed, and I heard Cosma. I didn't know who Cosma was, but it was very loud. It woke me up, and I sat straight up in bed, and I wrote it down, and I remembered the name. I even named one of my cats Cosma. It was many, many years before all of a sudden I discovered and realized that I am Cosma the Cosmic Detective. I've always liked detective movies, stories, Sherlock Holmes. I would solve all the mysteries, but I never realized I was going to be a cosmic detective. That was quite a wake up. Love is the answer to all questions was another time I was woken up in my sleep, sitting straight up with the words, love is the answer to all questions. And I used to keep a dream journal, so I would always write these things down and keep track of them. So that's a little bit of my beginning. After my 2-week awakening, my life proceeded along with like everybody else's, with kids, grandkids, everything that you can think of. And then one day, this was when I was living in such a small town in Idaho. It was called Peekaboo, because you close your eyes and open them and say peekaboo and you're gone, because there's only one store and gas station in this little town community. And it was like 45 minutes from where I worked. So it was very isolated. I was fortunate enough to have this beautiful little cottage with all these flowers around me. And it was a very peaceful time and setting in my life. One day I was sitting out on the front porch with my back to the door in a chair. And if you can picture this, I was looking at all of these beautiful flowers that were lining the fence and hollyhocks, and sitting there under an apricot tree, which was right by my front door, and looking out at this field. And in the field, there was like a lava mound. And on top of that lava mound was a llama. And he was looking out over the sheep in the field of the neighbor's sheep. And I was just thinking in my mind, what a wonderful, how blessed I was to be, how your thoughts go. And all of a sudden, behind my right shoulder, I heard a voice, and it wasn't in my head. It was a real voice. I knew someone was standing behind me, which was impossible because my back was to the front door and there was no other way anyone could come with. There was no back door, so there was no way it could be any. I at the time I didn't try to analyze it. I just knew there was somebody standing behind me, and the voice said, "Esu is here." And in my mind, I said, "Who?" I didn't say it out loud, but the voice was out loud. It was an audible voice. And he said, "Jesus, Sananda." Well, at the time, I mean, these things happen just as, little moments. And I've had years to reflect on this. But I had heard of course, Jesus. I mean, I grew up in Christian religion. I know a lot about the Bible. I've read Revelations a couple of times, and I don't know enough to quote verses, but I'm very well versed in biblical, and I'd never heard the name Esu before. But I had heard the name Sananda in relation to Jesus. And of course, Yeshua we've heard, and other terms that he's called, but he just said, "Esu is here." And then when I said who in my head, he answered audibly, "Jesus, Sananda," and this wonderful, most firm but gentle voice, not just this, the most wonderful voice you can think of. And for years, I couldn't talk about this incident without crying. So I hope you don't. I hope you bear with me if I do start crying, because I've heard other people talk about their experiences with Jesus, and they all say they cried, and they still cry, because when you're in the presence of something so divine and so holy, it encompasses everything, all of your heart, mind, soul, emotions, everything. And so all of this, of course, just happened in a minute or so, but I'm just trying to explain to you later how I analyzed it. The next thing he said was, "Hold out your right hand," and which I did. And he said, "I give you the gift of grace." Well, then I really started to cry. And after I composed myself, he added insight and discernment. So my gift that day from Esu Jesus Sananda was grace, insight, and discernment. Of course, everyone's heard of grace, but I didn't really understand what grace encompassed. And so I studied all about grace that I could find. And I figured he gave me insight and discernment because I was a person that trusted people too much. I would give everybody a chance, and more than one chance. And I believe everyone has good in them, but I didn't refuse to see the other side of things. So the gift of insight and discernment over the years I've learned was very necessary for me to have. And my talk today is titled Beyond Quantum. And also, you are your own superhero. Well, I'm here today, and because I'm supposed to talk about this, and I have been given dispensation to discuss this. And to tell you, I'm going to just start off that Esu Jesus Sananda, Jesus as we know him, he is God's love made manifest. And everyone has superpowers. And what this is built into our DNA. It's the God code, which there has been a book out about that I haven't read, but I do know that God is within us, and how he's within us is through our DNA, through our blood. So this is how you access your superpower within. And I just want to say, you're all superheroes, every one of you. And recently I was around my nieces and great nieces and nephews, and we were sitting around a table, and I said, who is your favorite superhero? And everybody just kind of looked at me, and so I had to go around the table and make them tell me who their favorite superhero was, and each one had one, but they didn't want to volunteer it at first. I think we all have our own superhero. My niece's was Wonder Woman, and she is Wonder Woman. And what I'm saying to you now is, think about who your favorite superhero is, or if you have a child, who theirs is. And look at the qualities, look up the qualities of superheroes, because they're all online. If you type in Superman, you will see his qualities. Or just type in superheroes qualities. And these are qualities that you admire in your superhero because you have them. And everyone has superpowers. And a lot of, like, I'm 76 now, and over my lifetime, I've had so many miraculous, wonderful, exciting experiences mixed in with the other side of life. And it's nice to have all this knowledge. It's wonderful to have this knowledge. But what's most important is that you embody this knowledge, you integrate it into your being. And there's ways to do that. When I was many years ago, as I was learning about everything, I started studying out-of-body experiences. I never did experience that until just recently. I'll tell you about that later, but I also studied near-death experiences. And it was, at the time, I was a pharmaceutical rep for a drug company called Sandoz. I started out as a teacher. I couldn't make a living supporting a daughter as a single parent teaching, although I loved teaching. I was a wonderful teacher, and I loved the children. And I decided I needed to make more money. So long story short, I became a pharmaceutical rep, which the only way I could rationalize it was that I had good products that helped senile dementia, among other things. Well, I had a territory in Seattle, and one of my psychiatrists that I called on was the head of Northwestern Region Psychiatric Convention. And he was the moderator, and other psychiatrists from Canada and all the Northwest were there. And as a pharmaceutical rep, we have products for, say, one of my products was for people that had like not just manic depression, but more severe mental problems. And we had booths in the back where the psychiatrists were all in front. And one of the psychiatrists asked my psychiatrist that I called on, when we hypnotize people, why did they come out with past lives? And Dr. I can't remember what his name was. He said, well, we don't know. We just know that it happens, it's true, and we can't explain it. And then he went on to say, Dr. Ian Stevenson of the university, I believe it's North or South Carolina, has done extensive research, and mainly with children in foreign countries, because their accounts are pure. And that what he found is that these children, and I've read many, I had to go to a university at the time to look all of these up because they weren't available in book form. I don't know if they are now. But these children would say, I don't want to be here. I want to, my name is such and such, and I live in such a village, and those are my parents, you're not. And he did so much research on this. And so the doctor that said that, when I called on him next, I asked for information about Dr. Stevenson so I could look it up. And Dr. Stevenson is Ian Stevenson is very famous for this. Now he's passed, but at the time it was quite eye-opening. So I'm going to cut to the chase, and I don't know how much time I have left. I still have a while. Recently, and I haven't been involved in near-death experiences for a while. Well, let me go back. In the 90s, my friend and I were living in Haley, Idaho, and someone that we liked a lot and had read his book, Saved by the Light, Dannion Brinkley, was going to talk at a hospice in Boise. And so we didn't travel out of town much, but we traveled the 3 hours to Boise to see him talk at this, the head of hospice in Boise at the time. And Dannion Brinkley talked for 2-3 hours straight without a break. And we were just all ears. And Dannion Brinkley was clinically dead for 45 minutes. They were wheeling him down to the morgue from the hospital. He had been struck in the temple by lightning. And he had the sheet over him, not a body bag. And his friend that was at the hospital wanted to say goodbye. And he went to the elevator door as it was waiting to come up. And he could see Dannion had come back into his body at that time, and he was paralyzed, and all he could do was blow on the sheet. So his friend saw the sheet moving like that. And they made a movie of Saved by the Light, and Eric Roberts, Julia Roberts' brother, plays Dannion Brinkley. It's hard to find this movie, but it is available. And of course, Dannion's book, Saved by the Light, is available on Amazon as well. Dannion is still with us. He's amazing. But one of the things that stayed with me, he said that he found out when he was crossed over, he found out many predictions that have all come true. But one of the things that he said that stuck with me is, you are powerful spiritual beings, and all that matters is love. So recently, and I'm going to speed forward again, a friend of mine on Facebook she's written a book. Her name is Premlata Rakamanjor. I don't know if I'm saying that right. She lives in Texas. She is from India. And I found her because of her book that I had read. And over the years, we've become very close friends. Her nickname, she likes to be called as Poppy. So Poppy told me a lot of things, helped me through the passing of my, I started getting high anxiety attacks after my sister and my life partner passed within 2 weeks of each other. This was 2 years ago. And I'd also had COVID twice in those 2 years. So I was at a pretty low, but she helped me with my anxiety attacks by teaching me about this deep breathing method. And it's the 10-10 box breathing, which I've shared with a few people, and anyone that wants to know about it more, you can look that up. But coming to present day, about a week or so ago, she sent me a video that was on life after death experience of this man, that she was saying it was so wonderful that she had to take notes. Well, I started watching it, and I hadn't viewed anything on life after death in so many years. And I told her, I have to take notes too. And this young man, he was clinically dead for 45 minutes, and he was in an ambulance, and they had zipped the bag up, and he was strapped down. And this new guy in the ambulance that was a new EMT, he was sitting with them, and there were two drivers up front. And he heard a voice that said, "He's not dead." And he discounted, he thought he was just imagining it because he was new. And then the voice said again, "He's not dead." So he unzipped the bag, and there's straps across the body to hold it down. He undid one strap and checked under the arm, and it was cold. And so he's thinking, well, I'm imagining this. He heard again, "He's not dead." So he goes down further, unzips some things, and feels some other place. And finally, he keeps these people that are driving in front are like looking back at him, telling him stop what he's doing. He's not supposed to be doing that. And they see a glowing light around him. And so they stopped ridiculing him. And he checked, and he found this one little pulse on his femoral artery. And they just happened to be within 5 minutes of a heart specialized clinic. So long story short, this was like 20 years ago, and this man has written a book. He goes by Vinny for short. And he brought back some things from the other side. And he tells you of a few things that you need to do. And this is how you access your superpower, everyone. These things will help you. So it starts with your thoughts. And if you can control your thoughts, you can control your destiny. That's one way of accessing your superpower. And he talks about the hour of power. And what he meant by that is spend time with God, at least 15, 30 minutes in the morning, and before you go to bed, 15 or 30 minutes before you go to bed. Well, I'd been doing that, but I didn't until about 2 months ago or a month ago, I can't remember when it was, I added something from Saint Germain's Seventh Ray book. It's called the White Light Meditation, and it takes like 15 minutes. And I'd added that to my routine. And boy, I had found this out, aside from watching this video, that my life had changed dramatically when I did my hour of power morning and night. But when I first started doing it, I'm thinking, oh, how can I'm retired, but I'm sure everyone that works, they say, how can I add 15 or half an hour to my morning because I work and I'm so busy? Trust me, it's worth every second. I have prayed in my life. I'm a Buddhist too. I've done meditations. I know all of this knowledge, and I know these things work, but till you actually embody it into your own self and realize that you are your own superpower, and these things can help you get there. And it's so powerful and so wonderful that you can thank me later. So our temples. Go to your holy temple. What is your holy temple? It's between your ears. This is your holy temple. And what you put in your eyes, in your nose, and your mouth, it counts. God gave us free choice, and we get to choose what we put in our holy temple. And if your temple is full of garbage, and then you can't connect to God. So just saying, it starts with your thoughts. Go inside your holy temple, and that in turn will lead you into your heart. And pay attention to what the children are saying. This is the next thing I learned. And also your breaths. He talks about the breath too, and he does it a little different. He does these 3 times 3 short breaths, and he says it cleans the slate. And I've added that whenever I feel like I need to clean my slate, I add that in. And I just want to say we're all in this together. Not everyone knows everything. Everyone has a little piece of the puzzle. It's been my job as Cosmo the Cosmic Detective to, and since I have the time and I'm retired, I have the opportunity to bring these things forth as they're presented to me. I'm a lot of times reluctant to share, and I'm told, yes, you have to share this. So what I was going to talk about today was about accessing your superpower, but I didn't have the whole picture until recently, and I'm told to share it, so that's what I'm doing. We chose to experience this lifetime, and we only have this moment, and we are both light and dark. We have in the cartoons back in the old days, they would have like a little angel sitting on one shoulder and a little devil on the other. And it was like, I think it was like Tom and Jerry, the cat, and he would look at one shoulder and the other shoulder to see which one he was going to choose. And it's up to us to choose and balance our polarities. And I want to tell you how powerful your words are. And I know this is kind of like probably a lot of disjointed, but hopefully you can put this together, because I'm giving you a lot of information quickly. That's why I have to have bullet points. But I'm supposed to do this, so I am. Recently, one of our Zooms in our group, we talked about Masaru Emoto and the power of words and how it changes the structure of water. For the fun of it, the other day I looked up Masaru Emoto, who has passed on, but it says he in his book, Human Consciousness Changes the Structure of Water, and he gives pictures of water molecules that are frozen and what happens if you say love, 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 and or hate, 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 and how it affects that molecule. And since then, since he's passed, they have proven this to be true, that words are so powerful, they change the structure of water. So me personally, every time I take a drink of water or whatever, I say love, love, love. I say things in triplicate. That's what you're supposed to do to firmly set it into reality. So how can we embody the love and the light of God in our own life? Do it with your hour of power. Do it with all, well, it depends on what our priorities are. We're the masters of our destiny and the builders of our own universe. One of the things at accessing your superpower that I wanted to bring up today, before I do that, I forgot to mention Yogananda. His book, The Life of a Yogi, the autobiography of a yogi, changed my life, because in this book, and I've also had 2 tapes that someone gave me by him, he said, God is real. And if he weren't real, I wouldn't tell you so. But he said, God is shy, and he will only talk to you if he knows what's truly in your heart, if you're for real. And another thing that Yogananda says is he someone asked him if he went to movies, and he said yes. I like to see the big picture and the little picture. So after that, I started watching movies differently, and I would say, show me what the big picture and the little picture is. And of course, one of my superheroes has always been Superman since I was little, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, fights for justice, and faster than a speeding bullet. And he would, so this was George Reeves, the original Superman on TV. So there's been a lot of Superman movies. I watch every one as soon as they come out. And I recently rewatched one, and it's called Man of Steel, and it's a fairly recent movie. And I really like this one because in this one, Superman, he was told by his earthly father that he was special, but he didn't want to be special. He wanted to fit in with everyone else. And I'm sure everyone that's watching can identify with that. And one time he was in the school bus, and everybody made fun of him anyway, because sometimes his superpowers would come out when he wasn't expecting it, like throwing the football really, really far. But anyway, the bus went off the road into icy water, and he knew he had to help everyone. So he went under the bus and pulled it out of the water. And one student that used to bully him saw him. He stopped bullying him. Anyway, Superman, what I'm trying to say is, had to learn to first access his powers, realize he had powers, and then embody his powers. And when he finally accepted who he was, then he could help others in the world. Not that everyone in the world wanted his help, because they were afraid that he would be too powerful. So everyone, I suggest you guys watch Man of Steel with Henry Cavill, or I can't remember if that's how you say his name. He's a wonderful Superman. Anyways, then the next one they made was called Justice League. And this gets us to the point of unity. This is like where everyone that has the superpowers has to join together to be more powerful. And even in the Bible, it tells, wherever two or more are gathered in my name, there I shall be also. So I'm just going to show you this little thing that I showed in one of my Zooms shortly, not long ago. These are magnets that I got. And I was just saying, what can one magnet do by itself? Nothing. But then what happens when you join all of these magnets together? They form this powerful force. This is like a little visualization. I would love to give more visualizations on my Zoom. But this is one I thought everyone can identify with. Everything Einstein says is energy and frequency. And when we are in our hearts, when we are using our love power till the max, we have the energy and frequency. And when we join together, this is how we do the collective field. So I wanted to say about the children, going back to the children, excuse me. Pay attention to the children. They know what's going on. And they really are, they access their emotions, and they know how to show their emotions. And so once you start putting your divine presence and embodying your divine presence, your divine I am presence, and then you go into your heart and balance, you will start accessing your superpowers. And one way to be led through this journey, I went to a talk once in the Sun Valley Wellness Festival with Deepak Chopra. And he gave this really wonderful story about synchronicities. And he said, pay attention to synchronicities. And they, I wrote, of course I took notes and I wrote down, pay attention to synchronicities. Well, now I realize all of our life, God is always talking to us, is what I learned during my 2-week awakening. And one way he talks to us is through these synchronicities. So if you want to access God, your angels, and Jesus, all you have to do is talk to them, ask them. But you have to verbally ask them. Because of the prime directive and all non-interference, the law of non-interference, God gave us free choice. So the words are powerful. You have to speak it. So how I found out angels were really there, I would ask angels, give me a parking place. Angels, help me with this. Help me find this lost item. Over the years, I mean, there's no doubt I know angels exist. There's no doubt I know God exists. There's no doubt I know Jesus exists. And I'm sure some of you want to know this too and have this too, but it's not enough to know. It's when you access your superpower is when you embody it. And so I want to bring up so much stuff, but the story he told with his synchronicities. He had a book that was out, what he wanted to publish, and he wanted this certain artist that he wanted to illustrate his book, and she lived in England. And he was driving around LA one morning and he pulled in this parking lot. Okay, I'm the last one, so I can go on. I am going over. He pulled in this parking lot and he said, I'm just going to call her. So he called her, she answered, and he said, told her about the book. I'm sorry to wake you. I know you're in England, I'm in LA. And she said, no, I'm not in England, I'm in LA. And he goes, oh, wow, really? Maybe we can meet. He goes, where are you? And she gave him the name of this hotel. Well, that was the hotel lot he had pulled into. And so that's, synchronicities are going to help guide you home. I wanted to read a few of the poems that were important. So to tell you and show you that it's time, and this one is called It's Time. It's time for you and it's time for me. It's time for all of us to be, from whence we came to where we go, and the final end is not to know. It takes a chance, compels a curve. Some days it takes all of our nerve. It may be now, it may be then. We all cry out for bad to end. If not for you, if not for me, there'd be no test of faith, you see. From whence we came to where we go, his perfect light shines forth for all. It takes a you, it takes a me, until we are all are one, you see. Hold on to light, hold on to love, and soon we'll be with God above. There's a lot of wonderful poems that that Spirit has given me that I wanted to read, but I wanted to close with this one. And I want you to just close your eyes and try to picture this. And hi, Manu. Manu says hi, that's my cockatiel. And it's called My Picnic with God. One day I climbed a golden hill, and what I saw gave me a thrill. Extraordinary and wondrous sights and sounds, just to recall makes my heart pound. On golden tables, a love-filled feast, a jeweled carpet touched my feet. The trees were softly singing too, and all my friends yelled, where were you? I jump for joy, my soul is free to sit and feast with all my friends, to laugh and sing without an end. I did not know how it could be that God would come and sit with me to tell me how much I was missed. And then upon my cheek he kissed. Sorry, guys. His smile was so full of love and light. It was a thrilling, joyous sight. No more will I be old and sick. With family and friends, God's love picnic. I just want to tell you that through the poems that I was given is that was going to be my last one, but I have to read one more. It's called What I Am. I am peace, I am love, I am come from up above. I am here, I am now, I am with you all the while. I am near, never far. I am seen as bright as star. I am joy, I am grace. Look for me in your neighbor's face. I am tears, I'm frowns, not only when you're upside down. I am first, I am last, I am your future, and I am your past. I am outside, I am in, I am love, I am sin, I am splendor, I am drought, I am what your life is all about. Thank you, everyone, for this opportunity to bring you God's love and light. And if anytime you want to private message me, I will give you all the tips or books that you can find if you can't find them on your own. I love you. And I'm going to end this by saying, stay in your hearts and love, love, love with all your might. Thank you.
I'm just gonna